Hello, I am back again with another video to discuss, I don't know, maybe a personal favorites that got me into book writing, or maybe how evolution got me into book writing. A little better here. Well, basically, you might as well say this. Got into book writing when I was just back in high school, or more like middle school. But basically, back when I was a kid, like 8 years old, that's when I started, like, the imagination a child can do. When I was 8 years old, I practically thought I was like someone who died in a different world and reincarnated here on Earth. Yeah, that was like the illusion of a young child. And back then, I wasn't the typical child. I have autism, so autism for a young kid that I had, or who is me, practically illusioned myself, brainwashed myself that I was a different person from a different world. In other words, kind of like an isekai. But no, that all my life I kind of felt like I was like the preschool kid with elementary school kids. Very short-sighted when I was young. And so I started growing up with different daydreams of different worlds of mythology, and I have got so many now. And every now and then, every night, I'm like dreaming of different images of so many different animals, creatures, and monsters. I was like, is this a dream, or is this like some sort of flashback I had when I was a kid? I just really don't know how my brain works, and yet it just feels too odd I am even. I don't know. Basically, that's how I started. 8 years old. Autism. Daydreams of mythology or mythical illusions inside my brain. As years passed, I kind of lack the proper common sense a child would have. As I grew up, common sense did begin to grow stronger in me. But even still, like in middle school, I would say, when I heard like a certain idiom, like go break a leg, in middle school alone, I would say, I really don't want to break my leg. I kind of took it as in a literal sense, like literally breaking a bone in a leg. Like, I don't want to break my legs, bones in my legs. Just didn't want to. But hey, that's me. That's autism. It There was certain advantages. Another part of autism. It can really be difficult to articulate long words. Advantage. There are advantage and disadvantage, pros and cons as to what can autism do to a human. For me, it's books of mythology. And I have written a ton of works through my artistic brain. So I evolved from a small boy to a grown man now, and here I am with several books out online. But this video I want to talk about how it's from ages to several book series I started to present day. So 8 years old, autistic, create that an illusion of myself being reincarnated after being killed from a different world. And I was like elementary school, acting as like one weird kid. It wasn't until like 6th grade my brain started evolved into a more active sense of reality than off into outer space like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. And that's where my instincts of book writing kicked in. And then a year later, in 7th grade and 8th grade, so middle school, that's when I started developing a strong interest in book writing. So I grabbed myself a notebook and draft out my own version of Star Wars Episode 7. Then, sometime later, comes my first book I started then in 2009 and finished in 2013, though I could have done sooner if it wasn't for constant schoolwork in high school. It was called Mystical Warriors. Of course, it went by 3 different titles. Earth Guardians, that was practically the first title. Then over time, I switched it to, what was the name? It was like practically I named it after a desert. Sonora Warriors. SUNROWA. So Sun Roa Warriors. I felt like scratch that. Mystical Warriors. Earth Guardians, Sonora Warriors, Mystical Warriors. So that's my first book I've written. I really didn't know what to put as a subtitle, so I put it as Rise of the Supernatural Heroes. An origin story to 5 different heroes, 5 different characters as they rise up to meet the challenge, but kind of find that hard to put out because majority of my books I always focus on the main character who is the central character of the entire franchise, practically the catalyst to bring these events into place. But often up and around I'll have a flash drive and then suddenly I lose it and there goes like a day's work all throughout high school because I practically just don't know my technology. I didn't know this stuff. So until I finally got my own laptop after graduating, finished the entire bloody thing, and I just decided to put it online. And it's followed by 3 others. The first is Rise of the Supernatural Heroes. Horrors of Flames and Skulls. Wrath of a Deity, and can't remember the last one. Originally, I had about like 5 planned, but when 2014 came around, I was working on an idea just popped into my brain, a human-dragon hybrid. And that's when I came up with the trilogy, which I started in 2014 and finished in 2020. A Tale of a Human-Dragon Hybrid trilogy. It's practically a book out every 2 years. That I had planned like as like a little children's adventure series, kind of like Chronicles of Narnia. But when I put in a certain name in the second book, after I finished the first draft, it was like if a reader was reading the first book and going to the second book, there would be like I don't remember reading this book. I don't remember reading about this name in the first book. It would practically confuse my readers, so I had to go back, do some additional add-ins, additions, and rewrites to a few chapters. But from there it was like all hot as the Earth's core. I was working on one series and another series at the same time. 2 different series. And not just that, I was at a trade school, which I really didn't like. In 5 years I wasted my life and I just got nowhere. By doing so, I feel like I wasted my life away, and now I just see everything in a negative retrospect. So I decided to trim down my Mystical Warrior series from 5 books to 4. And they're all online right now on my Wattpad page where you can read them for free. And you can buy my Human-Dragon Hybrid trilogy on Amazon. As of right now, I am a self-published novelist, and I try to make that for a living. Try to sell, write books, become a worldwide phenomenon like Lord of the Rings. But at this point, I just don't know. But either way, my autism is what helped me create those universes, and now I'm going to a deeper, darker, more violent type of fantasy book I'm calling Saga of the Zodiac Wars, and I'm planning on at least 14 books in that series. The first book being like a long prologue chapter introducing the characters, with 3 story arcs included. One that is kind of like a Star Wars rebellion against the Empire, like a holy divine civil war, and a Zodiac civil war. So practically 3 different civil wars: rebellion, empire, civil war, a holy civil war featuring immortals, gods, demons, angels, devils fighting, and zodiacs. The Zodiac Civil War, where 12 Zodiacs are fighting among themselves. With the final book being the epilogue as to what happens to all the characters who fight and die in the entire franchise. So yes, I have like a mega franchise to work on, one that probably can rival against Game of Thrones. It is going to be like Game of Thrones, but not as much characters, and it's going to be more action-packed, less politics, less political power grab and more magic battle fighting with magic weapons, magic swords, divine weapons, that sort of thing. And don't expect happily ever after in that series, because not every character I make will have a happily ever after. Signing off.